mind dying before they try to kill somebody. Yeah, that was this guy. His name was Yoji Angel. And he actually came all the way from Japan. Before he comes from Japan, he made it all this kind of, he made it pretty big on the news that he wanted to prove the world that the Gracies were fake, that Gracies and their students were all fake, that this is all big propaganda to make us look good and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff that I heard it 100 times. But most of the time we hear and they don't show up. In this case, these guys keep saying that they will be coming from Japan, and they will come inside one Rickson Gracie Academy, and they will beat him up, and they will post it there and show. So I thought that was a joke, and one day I was teaching a class by myself, and then those guys showed up. They showed up, and they showed up with the intention of hurting the Gracie reputation, hurting Rickson and everything. And it was pretty shocking, you know. Even though we lived that life, we keep like challenging. It wasn't really a problem, but you know, like, yeah, I thought it was pretty crazy from fighters all the way from Japan take an airplane and invade a Gracie school, and that actually happened. And it was a pretty big day, pretty big experience, Caesar, you know, because actually for the first time, I lived through a lot of stuff in Brazil, like the little bit of the drama between jiu-jitsu and shoot boxing and luta livre, you know. I'm kind of from those kind of days, and in Brazil we've seen a bunch of stuff, but in the United States was very, very different. So anyways, cutting the short, this guy is a professional fighter. He came he came to hurt us and hurt everybody, and it wasn't a really good day for this guy. I think it was the last time he ever done that in his life. It was a pretty real, like, how can I say, real, very different than MMA, very different than, it was a real situation with no ref, with nobody to stop. And this guy got mounted for over 25 minutes and never escaped and got punished. So, you know, I'm telling this to the story, but I think the story can be pretty graphic, so I don't want to like really go over a lot of details, and I don't know how much Hicks would like me to be telling the whole story of the whole thing, but a lot of people are very curious about that episode, and yeah, I was kind of like, I was there, I watched the whole thing. The one funny thing is, like, I remember when they first came in, and Hicks walked inside the academy, and they kind of set up this thing to fight, and then Rickson told, you know, Rickson want to fight professionally, but they don't. They want to fight just for fight, and then it, since there is no rules and no ref, it became a little bit of a pretty intense kind of situation. But one funny thing is, I don't know how funny it is, but on the time it wasn't. Rickson asked me to bring a clipboard with a waiver for this guy, right? I go, have him signing the waiver, Luis. And I walk with that clipboard and a waiver, and when I get close to him, he comes and slaps that clipboard so heavy, I'm like, boom, almost hitting him, like, holy moly. And then I say, hey, so he doesn't want to sign the waiver. He's like, don't need to sign. I said, oh, you should have told him that before, right? But yeah, well, he tried to be a more professional, and one of the stories, like living this jiu-jitsu life, you know, we kind of go through a lot of this. Back in the day is very different, because it was different. It's just like pioneering this whole thing, kind of going to places and challenging everybody. Either you believe it or not, you know, I benefit from that. But so are you. If those things weren't happening, I don't think you would be here. I would not be here teaching, traveling all over. You know, I owe a lot of my career, a lot of my success to all those guys that helped us to pioneer all this thing, to break the ground, you know. For I know there's tons of millions of awesome fighters came out of that after that, but that's history. I cannot deny, you know. I got here was just a purple belt. There was no Brazilian purple belt in this country. I was the first one.
Yeah.
Those guys brought me, hey, you wanna help my brother to teach? Yeah, cool. So from those days to now, tons of schools, tons of black belts. You know, like the other day I was thinking, Mike, like so funny, I was driving, you know, and thinking about like when sometimes I lecture my students about the history of jiu-jitsu that I know. You know, the one that came from India to Japan, was developed over there, and then this Japanese guy, Konde Maeda, went to Brazil with a few other Japanese, and then in Brazil they start to introduce jiu-jitsu to few people here and there, and then they end up like meeting some of the Gracies, one Grace, and then this one Grace really fell in love with jiu-jitsu and started to teach his brothers, and 100 years later, it is what it is. But I've never realized that I'm actually, I don't want to brag anything, but first time I realized that maybe in 30, 40 years from now, somebody's going to say the same thing about me. This guy came from United States, from Brazil as a purple belt. Nobody was doing jiu-jitsu when I got to United States, only me and the Gracies. So it's the same thing, pretty much. I never realized that. When I went to Hawaii 20 years ago, there was two guys that knew of jiu-jitsu, but here I am again in the same position, renting a house, a garage, finding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 students, 10. 20 years later, I got a school now with 300-400 students. So, pretty cool. Very, very cool it's like I said, I'm not bragging anything, but wow, I kind of like that part of the history that, and that's what I'm trying to actually do. I'm actually trying to build something in Hawaii that when I'm no longer here, I want that school to be helping out the same way the idea is to help people out. I think the reason why I am having this much number of students, it's like because I really believe in jiu-jitsu, because I really believe in the power of helping people. I really believe on karma, and it's all coming back. But it's pretty cool to feel that, that stuff that I never thought that, like living 30, 40, 50, 60 years, this guy came to Hawaii this long ago, 100 years ago, and you know what I'm saying? Kind of cool. So hopefully, someplace in the world right now, someplace in that is not jiu-jitsu yet, that I can come help. And you know, I usually travel to places where there is a existing jiu-jitsu school. But I came when I landed in this, there was no jiu-jitsu school. It's only a garage. It took us 2 years to rent a place to get into that we call an academy. This big here. 2-3 years after like coming, you know, like going everywhere, going to every high school, every college, every martial art place. And then in a very friendly way, we were just asking to spar. They're like, oh man, those guys come here, they ask to spar, why? Let me show you why. So, this is what it is. And you know what? I hope you become part of this whole new thing. If you one day become a black belt, you're gonna be in the same position that I am. You're gonna help tons of people, and you're gonna feel the benefits of helping people are way